Dynasty rookie mock draft time. And I'm excited because Sleeper added rookies into the database. So I get to show you and share with you the mock draft room. As always, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you like Dynasty content, help us get to 1,100 subscribers. And also join our Discord. Link is in the description of this video. This is probably the last pre-recorded rookie mock draft I'm going to be doing. Maybe not the last, but I'm going to be doing a lot more live shows, and hopefully I can get you guys in and have a full mock draft, full 12 teams, kind of everyone making their own decisions. So if you're interested in that, we're going to go live throughout the week. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we go live, and also join our Discord. That will be the easiest way to get into those mock drafts. We're also going to do some listener leagues and some Dynasty startup draft mock drafts as well. So a lot of stuff coming out. Make sure to get into that Discord. And we're jumping into it, guys. We have a 12-team superflex Dynasty rookie mock draft. And once again, Sleeper has added rookies into the database. So I am excited here. I'm just trying to figure out where I want to put myself. I'm going to put myself there. And I do have landing spots. Link is also in the description to the landing spots. It's through Tankathon. This is recorded on January 24th. So this is before the championship games are played. And at the 101, of course, it's Ashton Jeanty. He is the 101. He goes to the Cowboys, 12th overall. So that's like the most common landing spot that I see. Honestly, I can see him going to a lot of these teams in the top 10 to 12. It's Ashton Jeanty for me. It's Ashton Jeanty for everyone, whether it's super flat, whatever settings you play in, unless it's like super devaluing running backs. My question for you guys, I asked this in a previous video, leave a comment. My question is, what would it take for you to not take Ashton Jeanty 101? You have the 101. What would it take for you to not take him? Do one of these quarterbacks have to get super hyped up? Does a wide receiver needy team with a good quarterback need to trade into the top 10 and take like a Ted McMillan or Luther Burden? Or does Jeanty have to fall to the second round, which that's not going to happen? I don't know. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that can get you to not take Jeanty 101. Besides the fact you trade off of it and get a haul for him. At the 102, I'm going to go with Ted McMillan. Honestly, there's so many. If you watch a lot of Dynasty content and a lot of Dynasty mock drafts out there, rookie mock drafts, you know that the 102 could be like 7 different players. So I'll get to that and what that means for me a little bit later on as we progress through the first round. But I'm going to take Ted McMillan here at the 102. He goes to the Panthers at the 8th overall pick, so he gets top 10 draft capital, goes to a team where he probably is the best receiver on the team. I definitely think he is the best receiver on the team. A lot of it's going to depend on can Bryce Young take that next step and what that means for Ted McMillan. So interesting pick there. He's an interesting player. I put out a rookie profile on him, so check that video out. And by the way, as I do these picks, I tried to do a mix of like not just what I would do, but how I think potentially the draft could play out. And I like to mix it up in all these mock drafts because, definitely not everyone in your league is going to follow what I think. And so you got to be ready for these curveballs and who could go where. Like at the 103, I'm going to go with Travion Henderson. And Henderson, for whatever reason, is not in this database. I think he's one of these player invalid guys right now. There's a player invalid running back right there. So that's going to be Travion Henderson. Hopefully you don't skip to the end of the video and just be like, who the hell is, player invalid? That is Travion Henderson. In this draft, he goes 55th to the Chargers. If this happens, I could see him going as the second running back. If he gets second round draft capital or better, and he goes to a team like the Chargers or someone else that really needs a running back and becomes their guy. People are they're rising on Travion Henderson, especially after watching maybe you watched the college football playoffs, and that was the first time you actually watched him, and he was awesome. So I'll take him at the 103. And there's actually those 3 running backs, so Marion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, Travion Henderson. They're kind of in that next tier of guys after Jeanty, and they all go within 6 picks of each other. So if that happens, you're probably going to go with, lean towards the guy who gets the better draft capital. Actually, I'm going to take another running back here. I am going to take Caleb Johnson. Caleb Johnson, like I mentioned, goes in the second round, 51st overall to the Broncos. That is good draft cap. That's good draft capital. That's a good landing spot. Don't forget that Sean Payton, in all his years in New Orleans, basically was like gold for fantasy running backs. multiple fantasy running backs, by the way, whether it was Mark Ingram, Pierre Thomas, Darren Sproles, Alvin Kamara, all these guys. There's a couple more that I'm missing. Deuce McAllister, so Caleb Johnson going to the Broncos. We haven't seen that fantasy gold with Sean Payton and running backs with the Broncos, but I think he steps in. He's the best running back in that room. No more Javonte Williams. It's going to be him versus Audric Estime versus Jaleel McLaughlin, and those guys will have their role, but Caleb Johnson will be the guy, in my opinion. At the 105, a few different ways you can go. I mean, this whole draft is kind of like a few different ways that you can go. I'm going to go a little bit more based off of talent than maybe landing spot, and that's Luther Burden. And I do try to balance this a little bit. I try to balance this a little bit of like, do I always just, do I outweigh landing spot? Do I outweigh or do I outweigh like the talent of the player? I think Luther Burden is in that tier 1 with Ted McMillan personally. In this draft, in this mock draft landing spots, he goes to the Steelers, 21st overall. So maybe not the best spot, but I think he pairs well with Pickens. Hopefully they figure out the quarterback situation. Maybe it's Russ, maybe it's someone else. But I think he could just be a really good player for the Steelers. And honestly, like if he gets maybe a better landing spot or a higher draft capital, I could take him over Ted McMillan. I really could. So I'll take Luther Burden here at the 105. This is a super flex league, so I'm going to go with Cam Ward next, quarterback for now in this mock draft, going to the Giants, 3rd overall. I kind of lean towards the Giants being, in my opinion, the best landing spot for a quarterback that's in like that top 5 picks, because you get Malik Neighbors, you get Tyrone Tracy, you get Theo Johnson if he's healthy, you get Wandale, who's a solid 2-3 wide receiver. You get Brian Daboll, who did good things with Josh Allen, did good things with Daniel Jones year 1 in New York. And so, I still believe that Daboll is a pretty good coach. I just think that you can't win without a quarterback, no matter how good you are. So I lean Cam Ward because of the landing spot over Shedeur Sanders, even though Shedeur Sanders goes higher. And I think Cam Ward has a higher upside than Shedeur Sanders. And I know people are down on these quarterbacks. I kind of feel like that's going to change a little bit as we progress throughout the offseason. We're going to get more hype on these guys a little bit more, or maybe they just fall off and go middle of the first round. That's possible too. But I do think there's a chance that we get some hype around them. And I always tell people, like where you are right now in your dynasty leagues, your startups are gone. For some of you, your startups are multiple years in the past. The cheapest place to get a quarterback in a super flex league is through the rookie draft, in my opinion. The cheapest place. Most quarterbacks that are top 15 or even like top 18 or so, it takes more than just a first round pick to acquire them. It really does. So you have to think positional value and things like that. You have to think that there's some scarcity in this draft because there's not much after maybe the top three quarterbacks. So I'll take Cam Ward here at the 106. At the 107, I will go Amarion Hampton. Again, to me, Hampton is in that tier after Jeanty. It's Travion Henderson, Caleb Johnson, and Hampton at this moment. Could that be added? Could we add some players to that tier? Absolutely. But to me, he's in that tier, those 3 players. And so it's basically going to come down to, well, where do they get drafted and what draft capital do they get? In this mock draft, Hampton goes 49th overall to the Bengals. So he actually gets the highest draft capital between the other 2 players in Henderson and Johnson. But he goes to, I think, the worst spot because I don't know if he's just necessarily going to supplant Chase Brown year 1. There's a chance. There's a chance that Hampton, who potentially is the RB2 in this draft and is really damn good, is just better, and that's who they go with. But I kind of feel like there's an outside chance. There's a more than an outside chance. There's a decent chance that Hampton is like a Charbonnet or Blake Corum year 1, where you're stuck behind an established guy. And then that's going to kind of tank your value just a little bit. So I think that knocks him down just a little bit. I still think he's a first-round pick if he gets this kind of draft capital. It's just I wish he would go to a different team. And I don't think the Bengals are going to take a running back in the first 2 rounds, but I guess crazier things have happened. I will go Shedeur Sanders next. Again, it's a super flex league here. And I think these quarterbacks should still, if they get top 5 draft capital, in Sanders' case, he goes 101 overall to the Titans. They still should probably be going within the first 8-9 picks of this Superflex rookie draft, whether you believe in him or not. I mean, a lot of people had Bo Nix way down last year. I saw Bo Nix going early second round in some in some dynasty rookie drafts. And like, I was kind of under the impression of like, look, guys, he still had top 12 draft capital, whether he was the 6th quarterback taken or not. He was still top 12. We have to kind of like, quarterbacks are so hard to evaluate. I can't evaluate quarterbacks properly. The NFL can't even scout and evaluate quarterbacks properly. So if it hits, Sanders could be potentially the most valuable piece in this draft class, because if a quarterback hits, even if they're a low-end QB1, they're going to be a lot more valuable than, an RB15 or whatever. So I'll take Sanders here at the 108. But I mentioned this when I took Ted McMillan at the 102. To me, any of these guys, as of right now on January 24th, any of these guys could go 102, in my opinion. If you get a super quarterback needy team, they could take one of the quarterbacks. People might like Travion Henderson, especially if he goes to the Chargers, more than Ted McMillan. They might like Omarion Hampton the most, then they take him 102. They might like Luther Burden, whatever. So what that means to me is if I have the 102, 103, 104, I kind of want to trade back into like the 106, 7, or 8, be happy with whoever falls in the rookie draft and pick up pieces along the way, a first in 2026 or whatever. Like, I kind of want to take that approach. I really do. So that's kind of, what I'm potentially my strategy in a couple of leagues that I'm going to try and do if I do hold, a pick outside of the 101. At the 109 here, again, a lot of different ways you can go. I'm not sure I'm going to go tight end yet because it's not a tight end premium. I did release a tight end premium video mock draft. Check it out on my channel. But I'm going to go Emeka Egbuka here at the 109. He goes 22nd overall to the Chargers. I think that's an interesting spot. Him and Ladd McConkey together. I think Emeka Egbuka is just going to be like a solid wide receiver 2 for fantasy. Like, I don't know if he's going to be top 12 consistently. I just think he's going to be like a solid, like a Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, type of player. DJ Moore before, his time in Carolina, just like consistently producing, not winning you leagues, but pieces that you need to supplement, your studs. Especially if he goes to a team like the Chargers. Obviously, if he gets in a spot where he gets a good landing spot, then you potentially could take him even higher. It's funny because Luther Burden goes 21st. He goes 1 pick before Egbuka. But I just believe in Luther Burden a little bit more. But like, there's an argument to be made. Like, Emeka Egbuka, he goes 22nd overall, 1 pick behind Burden, and he gets the better landing spot with the better quarterback. Like, there's an argument to be made to take him at the 109. Next up, man, I'm gonna go Quinshon Judkins here. I'm gonna go Quinshon Judkins, running back from Ohio State. He goes 69th overall to the 3rd round to the Patriots. And we're at the point in the draft where like there's not a whole lot of difference between guys taken outside, the top 40 guys, historical hit rates are a lot better for guys drafted in the top 40 of the NFL draft. But when you get like mid to late 2nd round versus mid to late 3rd round, there's not a whole lot of difference in historical hit rate, especially for running backs. So we're at the point in the draft where like, you don't have to follow draft capital. You can kind of reach for someone if you want to. And I wouldn't, I'm not going to argue against it at all. Like, go with the guy you believe in. And Judkins, who a lot of people like, goes to the Patriots. They have a new head coach there. If they're taking Judkins here, that probably means that's going to be their guy. And I actually think the Patriots could be a much improved offense if they get a weapon in there, a wide receiver for Drake May. I think they already have the quarterback. So I'll take Judkins here at the 110. Now I will go tight end. I'm going to lean Tyler Warren. He is my tight end one. I love the guy out of Penn State. He goes 13th overall to the Dolphins. Will he go higher, even in a non-tight end premium draft? Possibly. And I wouldn't be surprised. I'm gonna not value tight ends as much because outside of like the top three guys, the tight ends don't mean that much. They really, really don't mean that much. So Tyler Warren to me, going 13th overall to the Dolphins. And I hear a lot of people say, like, when they compare Warren and Loveland, who I like them both, but people kind of downplay what the blocking side of things for a tight end does for fantasy value. It doesn't give us points. But what it does do is it gets you on the field. And that, to me, is a hugely underrated aspect for tight ends. It's like guys who are on the field 90% of the time are most likely going to produce at least a low-end tight end one level. Dalton Kincaid is like a perfect example of a guy who we know is probably one of the better pure pass-catching tight ends in the NFL. But he doesn't get on the field enough because he doesn't maybe do everything. You're just so much more versatile when you can look like you're going to run the ball because you have your guys out there who can block, but then you pass the ball. That's how the Lions like shred people. They look like they're going to run the ball every single time, and it's so hard to defend. And you know, you put Dalton Kincaid out there in the slot, like a lot of people are going to think, oh, they're, you know, it's just not as versatile. So, you know, you look at Dalton Kincaid's snap share, it's not very good. And so Tyler Warren's the type of player, to me, year one could be on the field 90% of the time because of all the things he can do. And that's going to help his fantasy value. It really is. Next up, I'm going to go with the guy that I've been a lot higher on than consensus. It seems like is Jalen Milroe, who in this draft goes to the Raiders and 37th overall. If he gets early second round draft capital, which I think is likely, I'm going to be taking him late first, early second in almost all superflex drafts because the guy has the cheat code. He has the rushing ability. You know, he has the rushing ability. The guy is a talented rusher. And even if I get 2 years of Jalen Milroe producing as a top 7 guy because he runs the ball, that's going to be more valuable than most people that are going to go in the second round. It really is. There's going to be 1 or 2 guys that maybe hit and are more valuable, but 2 years of a top 7 quarterback in a super flex league is a lot more valuable than the RB 24 for 5 years. It is. It just is. And people don't acknowledge that enough. They think, oh, I got 5 years of production from this guy. Yeah, but I'll take 2 years of top tier production versus 5 years of kind of middle of the road production. So I'll take Milroe here. Going to the Raiders. If he gets drafted that early, he's going to get a shot. Next up, I'm going to go with Matthew Golden, a player who I just recently scouted and watched his film because I didn't think he was coming out of the draft. A couple things here. He goes 61st overall to the Commanders. He is super fun to watch. You watch him play, especially if you watch him in the college football playoffs, and you don't look at the stats, but you just watch the film. You probably think to yourself that this guy is like a 1,200-yard, 10-touchdown guy. And then you look at the stats, and they're not quite at that level. I think a lot of it has to do with just, Texas had a lot of weapons. They had the tight end, Gunnar Helm, who put up like almost 800 yards. They had Isaiah Bond put up over 550 yards. A couple other receivers put up over 450. So, the pure numbers aren't quite there for him, but man, I think he's just really damn good. I hope he gets first-round draft capital. Here, he goes 61st overall to the Commanders. He slots in as their number 2 guy, which is great. He doesn't have to be the number 1 guy, at least for 1 year. That can be Terry McLaurin. And I just think he's super talented, paired with a good quarterback here. So I will take Matthew Golden 61st overall to the Commanders at the 201. I'll go ahead and take Holston Loveland here. There probably shouldn't be that much of a distance between Warren and Loveland if they both go first round. Again, is Loveland a better pure pass catcher? Yes. The issue is going to be, and he goes 20th to the Broncos in this mock draft. The issue is going to be, does the team view him as kind of just a receiving tight end, or can he do it all? I think there's a chance he can do it all. I'm not ruling that out. But, there's also a chance that he's kind of just like Dalton Kincaid or Mike Gesicki, maybe a better player than them, but in terms of the usage, like Jonnu Smith, where if they get on the right team in the right year and everything lines up for them, they could be really good, like a Jonnu Smith. But we also went 5-6 years of Jonnu Smith doing nothing because the team didn't view him the right way. So I would hope that if you're taking him in the first round, you know how you're going to use him. But unfortunately, that's just not how things work out all the time. Man, a lot of different ways we can go here. I think this is the time to take Travis Hunter. Now, once again, if Travis Hunter, he might be this, I think he's this invalid player here. So that's Travis Hunter at the 203. He goes 4th overall to the Patriots. Obviously, if Travis Hunter declares as a wide receiver and is going to be a wide receiver, he is in contention to be at the 102. If he declares as a corner that's going to play 10, 15 snaps on offense, he's probably not even taken in the draft. If we have no idea, which I think is a very likely chance, there's a high chance that when we do our Dynasty rookie drafts, real drafts, we have no idea what he's going to play as. I think this is about appropriate area where he should go, because if he hits, you just got a huge steal. Like if he walks on the field with Drake May week 1, you just got a huge steal. So I think this is the kind of the area to take that gamble, in my opinion. I think this is the area to take it. Next up, I'm going to go with a guy that is rising up my boards. It's Jalen Royals out of Utah State. Man, I hope he gets second-round draft capital. I really do. He goes 3rd round to the Cowboys, 76th overall. I think that's an amazing spot for him. I think he complements CeeDee Lamb very well. I think there's enough passing to go around for him to be productive year 1. I think he steps in as the wide receiver 2. This dude was super productive, over 800 yards in 7 games with Utah State, and then he got hurt and missed the rest of the year. He was on pace for like 1,400 yards or something ridiculous, 1,500 yards. So he's fun to watch. Watch his film. He's great. The analytical stuff is kind of there towards him too, so I'll take him there. I'm going to take Cam Scatteraboo here. A guy that, either you love him or you hate him. One thing that I'll say about Cam Scatteraboo, I do think his combine's going to hurt him. I do. But sometimes you got to just throw combine stuff out the window and like just watch the guy play. And his ability to break tackles and kind of like smash people usually translates to the NFL. Usually does. Will he have a short career? I don't know. But in this mock draft, he goes to the Bears, 72nd overall. Ben Johnson just became the Bears head coach. Ben Johnson and his offense had a year where Jamal Williams had 1,000 yards and like 18 touchdowns. Do you think Cam Scatteraboo can do that? Like he's going to get, if that offense is clicking, he's going to get the goal line carries. It's not going to be DeAndre Swift. Here's your goal line back for the Bears, who maybe have a really good offense, and maybe he also is just their, he's their early downs guy. Like, I like that. I like that pairing with Ben Johnson because I think that's how he's going to use him, like his Jamal Williams, or David Montgomery type of player. Next up here, as we move along into round 2 here, I'll go ahead and take Harold Fannin Jr. Has a little bit of a cult following here. The tight end 3 for most people. Out of Bowling Green, the dude had huge numbers, over 1,500 yards, like 117 catches or whatever. He goes to the Colts, 45th overall. I like that landing spot. I'm much more inclined. Like I'd much rather take Fannin at the 206 than Warren at the 111. I just would. In a non-tight end premium, I just would. He's the big question with Fannin is he's a bit of a tweener, and what is that going to mean for him in the NFL? Like, are they going to use him as a tight end? Are they going to use him? Are they going to fit him as a slot guy? A lot's going to depend on that. A lot will depend on that. I'm going to take the last running back taken here in this mock draft. And I'm in the first couple of rounds here, I'm only really taking guys that were drafted in this mock draft. I'm going to go with Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon was Ashton Jeanty before Ashton Jeanty heading into this year. Ollie Gordon's 2023 season was nuts. It was ridiculous. Over 2,000 total yards, 2,062 total yards, 22 touchdowns. He also had 40 catches for 330 yards. And he fell off this year. And there's, some people predicted it with his build and his profile. He goes to the Raiders, 68th overall. Can he find what made him the best running back heading into this draft, into the season in 2023? Into the 2024 season. Can he refine that? I'm willing to take a shot on him, in the late to mid to late second, if he gets the right draft capital. If he follows, obviously, I'm not going to take him. I'm going to go Trey Harris here, the last second round pick, I believe, in this mock draft. Trey Harris, who, if you love yards per route run and you love just pure numbers, Trey Harris, you're going to love. He's a first round pick for you because the dude was incredibly productive at Ole Miss. He had 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns in 8 games. We were just talking about Jalen Royals, like 800 yards in 7 games. This guy, Trey Harris, 1,000 yards in 8 games. So he's awesome. The yards per route run is insane. It's like over 5, which anything over 3 is amazing. Like over 5 is like unheard of for a guy that ran as many routes as he did. So Trey Harris goes 60th overall to the Lions. Oh, sorry if I didn't mention that. I don't think he really does anything year one, to be honest. I think it's obviously still Amon-Ra, Gibbs, Laporta, Jameson Williams. I don't think Trey Harris does anything. Maybe this is their replace Jameson Williams in 2026 kind of player. I don't think without an injury, Trey Harris does much. I'm not the biggest Trey Harris guy, but I do think there's some potential upside there with him. Actually, a player that I like a little bit more is Elick, I think it's Elick, Iomanner from Stanford. I like him more than Trey Harris. Goes 71st overall to the Saints, so kind of like, not a great spot. You got Olave there, Shaheed there. Obviously, you have Derek Carr and stuff. Like, it's not the greatest spot. But I like his build. Like, to me, he has the tools to be a number 1 guy. Will it all come together? Possibly not. And actually, I'm going to take a guy that I think now I kind of missed him in terms of where he went. Tez Johnson. If this happens, if he goes 3rd round to the Bengals, 81st overall, and T. Higgins is gone, Tez Johnson to me is actually like a mid-second round pick, like a mid to early second round pick. I like Tez Johnson a lot. A lot of it's to me is going to be where he goes, and if he goes to the right team that can kind of like support him. I think he's a wide receiver too. So I kind of missed that. 81st overall to the Bengals. If T. Higgins is gone, Tez Johnson should go a little bit earlier, in my opinion. He really should. Going a little bit faster with these guys just because, a lot of this stuff's going to change. I will take Isaiah Bond here. Not the biggest Isaiah Bond fan. He just didn't produce enough. Like, for a guy that's supposed to be like a fringe first round, early second round pick, he has speed, which teams are going to value. That doesn't necessarily translate to fantasy value for us, but it helps a team and their offense. You always have to account for the speed. Isaiah Bond goes to the Browns, 67th overall. And so, yeah, I mean, I just, the lack of production, like we can throw all these numbers out and statistics and analytics and stuff. If you don't produce in college, almost no receiver that like hardly produces in college is successful in the NFL. Like there's a couple guys here and there, like Terry McLaurin didn't have huge production numbers, but it generally means like you're not going to be very good. It's just, that's like the one thing we can bank on here. And then to finish up the second round here, I'm going to go a guy that I really like. He's a fun watch. Savion Williams, man, from TCU. When this guy gets the ball in his hands, he is amazing. He had like 50 carries this year. He was like a hybrid wildcat, wild frog, whatever they call it, running back out of the backfield type of player. His route tree is not great. He needs to go to the right team. He goes to the Raiders third round. Is that the right team? Probably not. But he's a fun player. He has a lot of upside if the team, like he could be like a Debo kind of guy, a Cordero Patterson type of guy. Like I hope a team kind of uses him that way and not just as a pure receiver. Because if he is just trying to be used as a pure receiver, then he's not gonna he's not going to do well here. I'm going to start taking some guys here in the third round that like maybe weren't drafted in this mock draft, and guys that I just want to highlight a little bit that I kind of really like. So let's get into it here. A running back that I really like is Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. I think he's really fun. I think he's very, very talented. I think he's slept on a little bit. The dude is fast, productive in college. Like, I'm really high on Dylan Sampson. And I would take him a lot earlier, depending on where he goes. But even in the third round, I'm going to start taking a shot on him. Like, I'm really, really high on Dylan Sampson. Doesn't go in this mock draft, unfortunately. Xavier Restrepo actually did get drafted. He went to where did he go? He went to the Ravens. Is he better than Zay Flowers? No. And Zay Flowers hasn't been like really a fantasy difference maker. So like the landing spot's not great, but I do like the player a lot. I just hope he doesn't go to the Ravens, to be honest. But yeah, I really do like that player, Xavier Restrepo. I think he's a pretty talented guy. Devin Neal out of Kansas is another guy, just super productive in college. A lot of people like Devin Neal a lot. I like him as well. I think he's a very good player. A lot of running backs that you're going to see here. DJ Giddens is another player from Kansas State. I hope he gets day 2 draft capital because I really like DJ Giddens, and he's going to move up boards if he does get that day 2 draft capital. RJ Harvey from UCF, another fun player. His college career is a little bit interesting. He went to Virginia as a quarterback, was not going to survive as a quarterback, being like undersized, and then transferred to UCF. And it was the COVID year that he transferred, did nothing. Then he got hurt in 2021. He probably was going to be the lead guy in 2021. He got hurt. But then from 2022 to 2024, just a lot of production here. 1,000 total yards, 1,600 total yards, 1,800 total yards, 25 touchdowns last year. He's a guy that I'm a lot higher on than consensus, seemingly. Another wide receiver that I like here, just double checking that I didn't miss any. A player that I really like here is Jack Besh from TCU, another TCU player. He probably has a safer floor than a guy like Savion Williams. I think, to me, he's in my top 10 wide receiver ranking. But, he doesn't get drafted in this mock draft, which is why I don't take him in that mock draft. A big question is going to be is 2 quarterbacks. There's 2 more quarterbacks that I think could sneak into day 2. They actually do get drafted in this mock draft. It's Quinn Ewers and it's Jackson Dart. These guys are going to be interesting because, like, you could see a team. So Quinn Ewers goes to the Steelers here, and Jackson Dart goes to the Browns. You could see a team like take a quarterback here and potentially give him the starting job year 2 or something. So like if they get to the right team, maybe like a Rams, 49ers, Steelers, Browns, like you could see them starting year 1. To be honest, you could see them starting year 1, and I wouldn't be surprised. Jalen Knoll, spelled like Noel, but it's Knoll. He's actually not even in here, so I guess I won't take him. I do want to highlight him though, Jalen Knoll, because he's a player that I really like. I think he's just going to be. Does he have a whole lot of upside? Probably not, but I think he's just going to be like a solid producer. And a really good like wide receiver 2/3 for a guy. Jarquez Hunter, hopefully he's in here from Auburn, another running back. I think is pretty intriguing. Who else do we have? Kyle Monungai from Rutgers, another running. There's so many running backs in this draft. He's not even in this draft. So I guess to finish off these last 3 guys, I'll just I'll take some guys that were actually drafted. Jaden Higgins from Iowa State as well. He's an intriguing guy. I think I like Knoll a little bit more, but I can see the potential for Higgins. I think he has a higher ceiling than a guy like Knoll. Gunnar Helm gets drafted. He's the tight end from Texas, from the University of Texas. He goes to the Chargers in round at the end of round 3, 86th overall. And then we have Mason Taylor, the LSU tight end here, goes to the Jets. maybe he becomes their guy. So there you have it, guys. That is my 3-round rookie mock draft. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, get into the Discord so you can do live mock drafts with us. Appreciate it, everyone. It is Dynasty rookie season. I'm excited, and I will catch you all in the next video.